Okay, this is a message directly to the division managers. We don't have a staff meeting coming up in a while. We had a really excellent RM meeting, and so I'm going to catch up with you as I have already with some of you, at least peripherally on some of these issues, of the RM meeting that we had in Dallas. There's so many good things. Many of them are not exactly, they're not the type of thing that are urgently timely. They're really about the future of the business, about 2011, so we're going to be able to address them at our staff meeting in January. But there's a couple of things that I want to talk to you about right now. I just did a video on Trimmer Inc. Basically, it's the idea of selling everybody something. I think this is a lost art that we have in our organization, so I want to give you just a little backfill on that so you can manage that, and then get into some other things right here too. And the reason I'm doing it via this, this medium as opposed to an email or the one-on-one conversation is because in the one-on-one conversations we're going to be a little more customized, but I want to just kind of bring this back. Okay, the Trimmer Inc. thing. You guys are so busy right now, and the district manager position is really complex. So you're spending all of your time talking about things like Craigslist. I mean, that's a really involved thing. What is Craigslist? It evolves and changes monthly. And by the way, as a division manager, if you're not thinking about how it changes monthly, if you're still on, Craigslist 2.0 from a month ago, and you're not on 2.5 or 3.0, or probably even by now 10.0, okay, you're missing it because, whether or not it's the fact that the ads change, whether or not the paid ads work, then it's the free ads, IP addresses. One of the reasons the West does so well on Craigslist is because all of the assistant managers know how to do it. They've been placing Craigslist ads because they got to go from computer to computer to computer to mess around with all the IP addresses and everything else that happen in order to avoid flagging and whatnot. And they also know how to write good ads, because if you write certain ads, they're flagged again. And so you want to make sure that you know the program, you can really manage it, and you can be effective. That was a sidebar, although more of that to come. The other thing is, because you're dealing with things like that, something so involved, that language that I just used, that did not exist, of course, just a few years ago. So it wasn't part of what we discussed. And there's so many other things that have been added that there are certain important things that have been left by the wayside. When was the last time we were at a conference and we had a talk on sell everybody something? When was the last time we really had that? We just don't have these particular things. And even if they do sneak in a little bit with the reps, how often do you sit at a staff meeting and teach your managers to teach people to make sure that everybody sells something? It's pretty hard to do because you're managing so many other things. So I don't really cast blame and I don't make judgments about it because I know the work is difficult. But we need to go back and ask ourselves, where can we add some of these things? So you can maybe use this video as one of those tools to reinforce and do some brainstorming. Because I didn't really provide answers as much as I provided concepts in it. So I do want you to watch that video. Okay, here's the other thing. When I was thinking about the division manager role, some things that you can do to jack up your performance, and we had this discussion with the RMs, gap management is something that's huge. Many times when we have a manager quit, and we go back and we look at their Vector Live, we notice that they had a pattern of inconsistency. They didn't do PRs for 6, 8, 7 weeks. They didn't have any Craigslist ads. They didn't run interviews at these particular times. Yet they're saying, I'm doing all this, but it's not showing up in Vector Live. And then they use some strange objections or reasons for why Vector Live isn't working, and it can only happen for so long before you have to just figure out, wait, they're just not working the program. So make sure that you don't miss things. The idea is that you don't want to miss key result areas in your manager's performances long enough that it becomes a catastrophe. Now we lose them. See, they call here and they say, I need money all of a sudden. And it's like, I need it tomorrow. I got this bill coming in, I need it tomorrow. Can you give me money tomorrow? Well, it didn't just show up that way. This is a problem that began months ago and starts to build and build and build. So making sure that you're looking at Vector Live, you're diving into their offices. If you've got a DRA, then you're making sure that you're talking to that, to that person about what's happening specifically in each office, where the misses are, so that you can have the right conversation. And if you only delegate those to your DRA and as region manager or division manager, you don't step in and take ownership and use the influence that only you have in the organization to affect change, okay, then you're really missing out on what it is. We talked about there are certain things you cannot delegate. And this is one of them. You need to step in with some certain incentive or motivation for them to get certain things done. Okay, the next thing is, as a division manager, if you're not spending your time talking to people, you're not spending your time in the right way. Other people can take and crunch the data and bring it to you and help you with analysis, although your analysis is going to be the best. But ultimately speaking, what you need to do is to talk to people. So if you're spending all your time on Vector Live, but not talking to people, that's inverted. You want somebody else to spend the time on Vector Live, show the highlights so you can see them, make sure they're smart, they know what they're doing, help train and retrain them by maybe correcting things that they didn't see and helping guide them through that, but now being able to rely on a lot of that, and then you make the calls and you talk to people. Now they can too, but you at least make the general call. The general call, hey, you know what, I noticed this about Craigslist or about PRs, here's some thoughts, I talked to so-and-so out there, they did this, I'm going to have you follow back up with X so that you can get this job done. So they can handle a lot of the minutia, but you need to put your endorsement, your enthusiasm, and your kind of jolt behind it in the right way. And we're going to talk more about this later on, but I wanted to use that as a reminder for you as you go through the next several weeks, especially now in the January recruiting. Utilizing face-to-face time is a huge thing. We really talked a lot as a region manager staff about reinvigorating the concept of a field visit and what it means for a division manager to be there with somebody, even if it's just for an hour or two in their office, to get into that office and to take a look at where the receptionist is, take a look at how that office looks, the manager and how sharp they look. You know, all these different things that you can't really recognize over the phone, and oftentimes when you get there you say, oh my goodness, why didn't I see this earlier? And they change, they evolve. The district managers sometimes make adjustments in their office, and if you get back there and you see it, you can also help them with that. Or it goes from being a neat office to a sloppy office, okay? Also the idea of getting in there and empowering their people in front of them so they can see how you're talking at a key staff meeting. So being a guest for that sort of thing and then taking a little time out with that manager. And I'd really like to encourage all of you, and we'll talk again about this one-on-one, and I'm aware of the number of offices you have in their proximity, to do this sort of thing where maybe every other week you go out and you do a visit. So now over a period of a couple of months you've met every single manager in your organization. Aaron, of course, with your geography it's a little bit harder, but you know it can still be done, and you can kind of work together on that plan. And I know, Aaron, you do get out there a lot too. Another one is this: teaching your people to innovate. Having a problem that you want solved, for example, how do we better Craigslist, and giving a formal assignment with specific details to one of your district managers to be the ambassador on that topic, to be the researcher on that topic, the pilot office, if you will, like the Kevin Hanna pilot office, if you will, on that topic in your organization, to bring back the data, to inspire them, to have them follow up, and to have them engaged. If you can give an assignment like that to each one of your district managers, and then come back 2 weeks later at your staff meeting and they report on the assignment, learn from the assignment, powerful things can happen, and let them come up with the answers. Just make sure that they're being real about it. Sometimes if people want to be dramatic just to sound like a hero, like he came up with something. So, you know, use your wisdom, but empower them. And that's really it for now. There's this whole list, in fact, Kyle's behind the camera. It took us a couple hours to go through the list, and there's really big things on it. I'm excited about what's happening and so many announcements, but we'll get into more of that later on. But anyway, pay attention to these things, and I look forward to talking to you one-on-one to follow up.